Hello viewer, I'm Olivia. My last video that I made about my dreams flopped. It's okay, I guess, because everyone has a flop era and I've just entered mine. And these next videos of mine are just me trying to leave that era and make a comeback because I don't want to be a fish flop. I don't want to be a flip flop that flippity flops all day long. Today's quote really hits deep because of my failure. It's from Thomas Edison. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." The Emu War of Australia, 1932, where Australia lost a war to its own pets. I guess it makes it a civil war, because they're all living in the same country and fighting against each other. Anyways, emus have been around in Australia for thousands of years, but in 1922, they were labeled as vermin because they would not stop destroying wheat crops of farmers. Now, emus like to migrate a lot, and that's a key part of their survival. And during 1932, there was an unusually large migration due to drought, and this destroyed so many crops for these farmers. And also 1932, think about it. It's worldwide Great Depression. These farmers aren't doing too well. They weren't doing too well in the first place because most of these farmers were veterans and they were unexperienced. And by the Emu War, actually 25% of them abandoned their land, which is kind of a lot. Emus frequently broke through the fences of farmers, and this would also allow other pests other than themselves to go in and do more damage. And farmers were permitted to shoot these emus, but because of lack of resources, they really needed some government assistance. Minister for Defense George Pierce believed that dispatching soldiers to help farmers would demonstrate that the government really cared about their veterans. In November of 1932, on the 2nd, 3 members of the Royal Australian Artillery were assigned to kill roughly 20,000 emus using machine guns. On November 2nd, these 3 team members employed formation tactics against a group of just 50 emus. When the soldiers opened fire, it was actually really embarrassing for them because the emus scattered all over and it was really hard to shoot them. Then on November 4th, the soldiers laid an ambush for the emus at a water source, but one of the guns got jammed and it was a fail again. Now, they're thinking that this isn't going to work and that we need a retreat. And they almost did, but then on November 8th, local farmers demanded the return. There was a report made that 300 emus had been killed, and George Pierce, was just like, we should send more gunners, and they did so on November 12th. It's reported that just under 1,000 emus died from November to December. Aww. And then there's a number that a lot of people argue about, is that 2,500 emus were wounded and later on died. But that's often argued about. No one really knows the true number, but it doesn't matter because they still were really under their goal of 20,000 emus. So of course the emus are winning this round. Also, members of the Australian House of Representatives try to laugh it off this time. I guess they were embarrassed, because I'd be embarrassed too. It's okay. By 1934, the government didn't give up. They decided that they were collecting bounties for dead emus. And within 6 months, roughly 57,000 dead emu bounties were claimed. The only really permanent defense against these emus would be building fences over long distances that they probably couldn't break. But a lot of people believe this is wrong because this would definitely endanger their survival, since this would not allow them to migrate, which is what they depended on, and the emus can't fly.
Sorry, Emu, and Doug. You can't fly, so whatever.
Basically, by 1999, the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act undid this whole thing and said emus are no longer vermin. Emus are a respected species native to Australia. Yada, yada, yada. Stuff like that. Also, emus were kind of smart during this time when they were hunted. It's been noted that each group of emus had one emu on the lookout, and this emu would warn everybody else that the soldiers are coming, and then everyone else would scatter and make an escape. So imagine losing an entire war to some birds that can't even fly. But this really inspired me to come up with a plan for the New York City rat problem. As we all know, that the rats are taking over the city, they're ruling the city. And one thing that I realized that the government in Australia failed to think of is disguising themselves as emus, because emus are big birds. We could definitely all pass as emus, and it could be like an inside man job where one person in an emu group just takes out all the emus. So we should do that with rats, because as we all know, the rats aren't getting any smaller in New York City. So if you're a New York City resident, please go out and buy a rat costume, and hopefully you'll be able to attract some rats and then take them out from the inside. Now, today's word of the day is artless. It means without guide or deception. Basically means you're naive if you're artless. Hopefully you aren't too artless. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was definitely a more educational one. Let me know what you think about the rat problem in New York City, or if you have any other pests near you, or maybe just fake friends like snakes and stuff. Just tell me about it. Anyways, please subscribe. Live long and prosper. Bye!